A matter of inches for a cop on a...
The Asian contagion. The Japanese take a dose of economic reform, but is it too little? It is too late for thousands of Wall Street workers, the newest victims of the global downturn. The first 2 weeks of the professional basketball season canceled. And the U.S. government warns that one of the country's top drug abuse problems is hiding right under your nose.
This is the CBS Evening News. With Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. There's a glimmer of hope tonight for a global economic recovery. And for the United States, it comes not a moment too soon. On a day when Wall Street cut thousands of jobs, there was important action at ground zero of the world crisis. Under U.S. pressure, the government of Japan took a major step toward a much-needed Japanese financial overhaul. CBS's Barry Peterson in Tokyo begins our coverage.
After months of debate, Japan's parliament is finally answering the global economy's 911 call and passing the bills that could save its failing banks and restart its faltering economy. On its way to final approval this week is money for weak banks. They're so short of cash, they stop making loans, and that has sent bankruptcies soaring. But the taxpayers have to pay. It's a lot. To shore up the weak banks, $210 billion. Add to that yesterday's approval to spend $151 billion rescuing bankrupt banks. And there are huge sums already set aside to protect depositors. Total, more than $500 billion, twice what America spent on its failed savings and loans, and as much as the gross domestic product for countries like Australia or Canada. But critics say Japan is still keeping its markets closed and payrolls overstuffed to maintain lifetime employment. It's just buying time until its export sales take off.
They're not going to be the engine of growth. They're waiting for someone else to be an engine of growth, whether it's the U.S. or Europe or Asia, and they will then be the leech of the world as they have been for a very long time, and they'll export into those economies.
Already in the pipeline, billions for public works projects and big tax cuts for consumers. Japan, it seems, is now ready to spend whatever it takes to lead itself and Asia away from the financial brink. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Tokyo.
In the meantime, the ripple effects of the Asian financial turmoil led to a large wave of layoffs today here in the USA. CBS's Anthony Mason reports a major New York financial house today cut loose thousands of workers, a move that could spread pain deep into the local and perhaps eventually national economy.
With the stock market tumbling, company profits diving,
it's already traded at 72.
Wall Street was waiting for the axe to fall. Today it dropped at America's biggest brokerage house. Merrill Lynch, after its first losing quarter in nearly 9 years, chopped 5% of its workforce. Many others are expected to follow.
Oh, I think it's just beginning.
George Mosé of the job placement firm Lee Hecht Harrison expects to be very busy.
My experience would say that it's going to be much broader than it ever has been. Usually things happen one sector at a time, but I think you're going to see it pretty much across the board.
Who else? Bankers Trust and Solomon Smith Barney are said to be considering sweeping layoffs soon.
15 to 25,000 could fall from the rolls over the next 6 months.
And when Wall Street suffers, so does New York City. Financial firms employ only 5% of the city's workforce, but they pay 17% of its wages, with an average salary of $170,000 and $12 billion in bonuses last year alone.
When you lay off people who are making $170,000, that has a pretty big impact on the economy.
New York State Comptroller Carl McCall fears the city did not learn its lesson after the 1987 crash.
And the dependence on Wall Street was not as great in '87 as it is now, and yet we had a serious recession, one that was very harmful to us.
The impact is already rippling through the city's economy, from restaurants to real estate.
It's a great view.
It sure is.
Bankers and brokers are among the few who could afford this 1,300 square foot apartment on Central Park.
And the price on this?
Well, 10 days ago, it was $925,000. Today, 10 days later, it's $850,000.
The cause, the same uncertainty that threatens to spoil Wall Street's party.
I think you'd have to be insane not to be concerned. I mean, I think everybody's concerned. Is the party over? For 3,400 Merrill Lynch workers it is, and Wall Street is wondering who will be next. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
Since the Asian flu hit, the Dow Industrials have fallen 1,400 points below their record high. The Dow lost 63 points today, ending a two-day rally. Over on the NASDAQ exchange, stocks fell 36 points. In the very big money business of professional basketball, contract talks between the NBA and the Players Union broke off today, and the league late this afternoon canceled the first 2 weeks of the regular season, scheduled to begin 3 weeks from today.
This is not a very pleasant announcement, but the realities of it are such that I think the owners had no choice.
NBA Commissioner David Stern with the owner's viewpoint. The U.S. government charged today that for a fistful of dollars, a former U.S. Army sergeant sold out some of his country's most sensitive secrets to the Russians. CBS's Jim Stewart reports how the U.S. government lured its man back in from the cold to face U.S. justice.
Until his sudden arrest over the weekend, retired Army Sergeant David Sheldon Boone had to be one of the luckiest alleged spies alive. First, despite constant FBI surveillance, he had walked unnoticed into the old Soviet embassy in Washington in 1988 to begin his spy career. Then for 3 years during the height of the Cold War, he would simply stuff U.S. military secrets under his Army windbreaker to sell to the Soviets, and again, nobody noticed. Today, however, Boone's luck ran out. A federal complaint alleges he stole highly classified documents detailing U.S. targeting of tactical nuclear weapons and U.S. signals intelligence. Boone picked up the first of those documents while working here at the Pentagon's super-secret National Security Agency, where he was a cryptologic analyst or code buster. Later, when he was stationed in Germany, he passed on secrets about U.S. force deployments there. The Cold War was already over by the time Boone retired in 1991, with no one the wiser. But with the fall of communism also came the release of many sensitive Soviet documents, and FBI sources say Boone's name was on one of them. Last month, the retired sergeant jumped at the offer by an FBI agent posing as a Russian to get back into the spy business, and even agreed to fly to Washington for a meeting at this hotel, where agents promptly arrested him. Before he was arrested, Boone told the undercover FBI agent that the biggest reason he got into espionage was because he needed the money following a divorce. But if that was the real reason, he didn't get much. For 4 years of spying, he collected only $60,000, about $3,700 a secret. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Washington.
CBS News has an update for you tonight on the brutal murder of a gay college student in Wyoming. It turns out he may not have been the only victim of his accused attackers. CBS's Cynthia Bowers in Laramie has today's developments.
18-year-old Kristen Price was back in court today, where charges against her were upgraded in the wake of Matthew Shepard's death. Police say she hid evidence and failed to report the crime to protect her boyfriend, the father of her child. Price's mother and her 4-month-old son sit just a few feet away.
We're just here to support our kids.
Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson are now charged with murder and could face a death sentence in the vicious killing of the gay man who was strung up on a fence post, pistol whipped, and left for dead. 21-year-old Matthew Shepard was a University of Wyoming freshman who loved the theater. These are pictures of him performing in a play 8 years ago.
Can't wait, Mama. I tried double-decker punch.
Emiliano Morales was attacked the same night as Shepard. Police say by the same suspects, hit over the head, allegedly with the same gun.
I yelled to Emiliano. He has a gun in his hand. Emiliano only got time to turn his head, and then the other guy hit him.
Morales and Herrera say they are stunned by the apparent connection between the two crimes and say they have no idea why they were targeted in this quiet neighborhood. Laramie police still won't say whether they think the attack on Matthew Shepard was motivated by robbery or prejudice.
There's multiple motives, but right now we're not going to go into anything further beyond that.
But Shepard's friends say it was a hate crime, and today they called for legislation they say is needed to make sure what happened to Matthew Shepard never happens again. Cynthia Bowers, CBS News, Laramie, Wyoming.
An Ohio appeals court today freed a pregnant 21-year-old student who'd been jailed for credit card fraud. As CBS reported last week, her case won national attention when she asked the judge to release her so she could have an abortion. The judge refused, saying jail, quote, worked out swell if that was her desire to abort her child, unquote. The woman estimates she's about 20 weeks pregnant and now says she's undecided about an abortion. Still to come on the CBS Evening News. Dealing with a dictator, holding off U.S. bombers in the Balkans. A deadly explosion in a fireworks factory. President Clinton campaigning under a cloud. And from outer space, a vision of Jupiter's electric moon.
Whoa, remember this place and those midnight snacks?
Indeed.
What's up, two dogs with the works? Hey, I can't have one of those now. Watching your figure? No, I didn't take my Pepsid AC, and it's too late now. Didn't take your Pepsid? Take my Tagamet. You can eat now.
Tagamet introduces a better way to avoid heartburn. Not an hour before, like Pepsid says. Now. Now you can take Tagamet right when you're going to eat and still prevent heartburn.
Mindy?
You two, back again?
Mindy! With Tagamet, you can eat like a kid again.
Do you use the same corn pads your grandmother used? Now there's a breakthrough. Introducing Band-Aid brand Corn Relief. It relieves painful pressure and stays in place better.
New Band-Aid brand cushions for feet Corn Relief.
At Boston Market, you can get the chicken America loves and the deal America wants. Now you can buy a whole chicken at Boston Market for only $5.99 and great side items starting at just 99 cents. So tonight, take home the chicken America loves only at Boston Market.
Chevy Tahoe with a Vortec engine. The most powerful SUV anywhere.
Diplomacy backed by force has finally produced what's being called a breakthrough in the Balkans. Serbian strongman Milosevic now has 4 more days to implement the agreement worked out with U.S. envoy Richard Holbrooke with NATO warplanes and missiles authorized to strike if Milosevic fails to do what he says he will do. NATO sources say the pact requires Serbia to withdraw its special forces from Kosovo, allow international inspectors into the disputed province, and begin peace talks with the ethnic Albanians who make up an estimated 90% of Kosovo's people. CBS's David Martin is following the Balkan crisis from the Pentagon.
When Richard Holbrooke left NATO headquarters and went back to Belgrade, he encountered an angry Serb president. Milosevic thought his concessions would convince NATO not to give the go-ahead for airstrikes. But NATO issued the order anyway. And today, President Clinton said that threat could be hanging over Milosevic for some time.
NATO is ready to act. It is up now to the president of Serbia to follow through on his commitments.
The strikes are being held off for at least 96 hours to give Milosevic time to pull his troops out of the field and allow relief agencies to reach the refugees. He can't get it all done in 96 hours, but he has to convince NATO he is trying.
We have a verification system. There will be facts on the ground which will tell us whether or not the compliance is there.
On the ground, there will be 2,000 unarmed civilian monitors, including Americans, who could remain in Kosovo up to 2 years. In the air, there will be American and other NATO spy planes. As British Foreign Secretary Robin Cook pointed out, an extraordinary concession for a head of state to make.
President Milosevic has now been obliged to concede the right of NATO aircraft to fly without restriction over any part of Kosovo.
Milosevic made the concessions only after B-52 bombers had moved into position to strike. But NATO has called off any more deployments of aircraft in an effort to assure Milosevic it is safe to shut down his air defenses and pull back his troops. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Hundreds of ethnic Albanians, mostly Muslims, were killed in Milosevic's 7-month crackdown. Hundreds of thousands more were driven from their homes. And as CBS's Alan Pizzi reports, even if peace is at hand, the survivors feel they have nothing to celebrate.
The diplomats may think the agreement has cleaned up the Kosovo problem, but the refugees it's supposed to save think there's more work to do yet. The tens of thousands huddled in the cold and rain that has settled over the mountains didn't, of course, tune in to Serb leader Slobodan Milosevic on TV today. Milosevic hailed the deal as an achievement that has removed the threat of military intervention and is in the best interests of what he called the country and all its national units.
We hope that it will mark a turning point in the tortured and tragic relationships between the peoples, Albanian, Serb, others, in Kosovo.
The ethnic Albanians don't think that includes them. These men say Milosevic is just trying to win time and keep them here until the snow comes so they'll freeze. No one here has a home with a roof over it, but they can't stay here.
If the international community would guarantee our safety, I'd take my plastic tent and go and live in the garden of my ruined house.
2,000 observers are supposed to come to guarantee that safety. They had better come soon. Fisa Celai says this is worse than when the Nazis invaded in World War II. They didn't harm women and children, she says. They fought man to man. Until the international monitors are in place to check on compliance, the world will simply have to take Slobodan Milosevic on trust. And as people here point out, he lied when he said the offensive against them was over. So why should anyone believe him now? Alan Pussy, CBS News, Kishnareka.
Near Mexico City today, a fireworks factory blew up, destroying a whole neighborhood and killing at least 16 people. Another 45 were hospitalized with injuries, and 15 more were still missing hours after the explosion.
There is an athlete amongst us, disguised as a mother and a neighbor. And when most of us are still sleeping, she's running. She also takes the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and folic acid in Women's Ultra Mega Multivitamins made by General Nutrition Centers. Tomorrow, she'll get up and run some more. Women's Ultra Mega Multivitamins made exclusively by GNC. Live strong, live well.
At Uniroyal, in order to make a point about our new nail guard tires, we added a few to our test track. Nail guard tires, designed to seal 90% of tread punctures, instantly and permanently. Only from Uniroyal.
Great meal.
Uh-oh, gas pressure. What now? What else? Gas X, with the most powerful medicine for fast relief. Nothing works faster.
Hey, want to go for ice cream?
Gas X, the power to fight gas fast.
1 3-layer wedding cake, done.
3? Should be 6.
Bayer relieves the inflammation that can cause arthritis pain and stiffness. Tylenol can't. And taken regularly, only Bayer can help save your life by reducing the risk of another heart attack. Ask your doctor.
Ta-da!
It's beautiful.
Bayer, powerful pain relief and so much more. Also try Extra Strength Bayer PM, the only nighttime aspirin.
Credit card pitches. Don't fall for promises of easy money. Find out about hidden penalties and misleading language. Get Card Smart, plus your latest weather.
That's tomorrow.
On This Morning.
The convergence of the closing weeks of Campaign 98 and the imminent opening of an Impeach the President inquiry in Congress is making for some strange and in some cases strained campaign tactics. Case in point, today's campaign photo opportunity in President Clinton's camp. As CBS News White House correspondent Scott Pelley explains. Scott, what about it?
Dan, today the Democrats held a shotgun wedding. The governor of Maryland appeared with the president at a campaign event today. Governor Paris Glendening said just a few weeks ago that he couldn't be seen with the president, and he canceled 2 events with Mr. Clinton. But now, with 3 weeks to go before the election, Democrats are facing losses, and the leadership is urging a united front. Glendening got the message.
The very, very special welcome, a warm welcome to our president, President Clinton.
What a difference a poll makes. Glendening is in a tight race and needs Democratic fundraising. He's one of many Democrats who are now calculating that unity is their best chance at survival. Just 4 weeks ago, party leaders were castigating Mr. Clinton for legal hair splitting. Just listen to them now.
I say we put our future in the hands of this administration, this president, and Democrats in Congress.
It's a strange election season that also raises ethical issues for the party. Last night, Mr. Clinton raised $1 million in part for Charles Schumer, a member of the very committee that will vote on impeachment. We caught up with Schumer before the fundraiser.
I've already said that the president should be censured, not impeached, and
people will have to judge that on its merits, because that's how I make decisions.
But you don't
That's
think...
it.
The party is still wary of whether Mr. Clinton will hurt Democrats nationwide. One top Democrat and a friend of the president told us the best thing Mr. Clinton can do to elect Democrats in November is raise the money and stay out of their districts. Dan?
Scott Pelley, thanks. Straight ahead here on CBS, investigating the big drug abuse threat to your children that you may not know about.
At Cigna, we care about people who have babies. We care about companies that make steel and about companies that make bread. We care about life and about all that makes life great or possible or just better. At Cigna, we care because it is our business to care. But we also care because, well, we have babies too. Cigna, a business of caring.
Some things can never be taught in a classroom. You won't find them in any textbook. And with Fixodent's long-lasting hold, you'll be ready, no matter where the lesson takes you. For long-lasting hold, Fixodent, and forget it.
For the 14 million women who worry about light to moderate bladder control, now there's new Double Protection Compose Panty and Pad system. The Compose Panty and Pad fit together for double protection. There's a super absorbent disposable pad, but the real difference is the separate washable panty. It gives you double protection with a quilted panel that won't let wetness through. So why worry? Get double protection with Double Protection Compose. Protection that goes beyond the pad.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
Fibercon or Metamucil, both have fiber for regularity. But I like Fibercon better.
Same natural action of fiber, but only Fibercon contains calcium.
And with Fibercon, I get my fiber in 2 caplets.
Fibercon, fiber and calcium in a convenient caplet.
You're about to see a child abducted. His own mother set it up. If you think that's shocking, wait till you see where they're taking him. 48 Hours, Thursday.
Federal health officials are out with new warnings today about the nation's 4th leading drug abuse problem. Attention parents, you may not know it, but the drug danger isn't just close to home. It could be a household product. CBS's Cheryl Atkinson has been looking into this.
Wade Heiss was 12 when he started sniffing air freshener to get high.
When you caught him doing this, Wade assured you he was going to stop. You thought he would stop?
Yes, I believed he would stop, but I did not realize that this was just as deadly or addicting as any other addiction.
Wade didn't stop sniffing. 2 weeks later, he was dead.
It's difficult for me to project an image of your child lying on the ground, helpless and not breathing.
New studies show an alarming rise in inhalant abuse. The number of new users has doubled in 5 years, according to the government's household survey on drugs. Kids as young as 2nd graders are sniffing products like air freshener, hairspray, and glue.
We have a crisis.
The nation's drug policy chief warns that the products are legal, but the risks are as serious as with cocaine.
It's like Russian roulette. The first time or the 10th time using an inhalant, it can kill you.
McCaffrey is putting his muscle behind a new awareness campaign unveiled today. The centerpiece is a free video for parents, schools, and pediatricians, starring the mother of basketball's Michael Jordan.
Kids call it huffing or sniffing. School is out. Do you know what your kids are doing?
Rick Heiss hopes what happened to his son
It's a dream I can't get rid of. I live with it.
will serve as a warning to other parents and children of the dangers lurking right under their noses. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Washington.
More than 100,000 people flocked to a farm in Georgia, USA today to hear the farm's owner relay what they believe to be the last in a series of messages from the Virgin Mary. Nancy Fowler told the faithful Mary visited her today and said, quote, the future holds no concern to those who truly seek God and truly love him and remain in his favor, unquote.
Tylenol House Call from Extra Strength Tylenol.
Your medicine cabinet. You use it every day. But do you really know what's in there?
Not everything. No, I never thought about it.
My medicine cabinet? Well, it pays to take a good look in your medicine cabinet. You might be surprised to find that you may have a prescription drug that could interact with an over-the-counter medication, altering the effectiveness or safety of one or both of the drugs. So here's some tips for you and your medicine cabinet. First, read the label for any warnings about drug interactions. Then, get rid of all out-of-date medicines, and those you don't take anymore. Who needs them? And if you're one of the millions of people who takes a prescription drug, remember, the pain reliever associated with the least risk of drug interaction and side effects is the medicine in Tylenol. So check out your medicine cabinet. Any questions? Check with your doctor or pharmacist.
Tylenol House Call is brought to you by Extra Strength Tylenol.
Of all the things we might put honey in, the best may be new Honey Cough. Introducing the first line of cough drops and cough syrup combining effective medicine with real honey to relieve even the worst coughs. New Honey Cough, a natural choice for coughs from the makers of Robitussin.
Is there a problem? Well, it's the road up there. It's wet, slippery, sharp curves. Never know what's going to pop up in front of you. Go ahead.
Well, what about him?
Yeah, he's got StabiliTrak.
Seville STS with StabiliTrak, the world's most advanced integrated stability control system. It's what's next.
Gonna let me go? Sorry, I was lost in the moment.
Seville STS, it's what's next.
Max is a mighty dog. That's why he gets new Mighty Dog carved beef and gravy. Tender slices and savory gravy to give Max all the energy he needs. New Mighty Dog carved beef and carved beef with pasta. Mighty Dog from Friskies.
Cosmic news tonight from the infinite universe and the realm of the ultra-small. The Nobel Prizes in Physics and Chemistry were awarded today to 5 people who delve into the inner workings of subatomic particles and the secrets of molecules. And from NASA today, these images of the big picture of our universe, just northwest of Jupiter's huge red spot, now known to be a hurricane 3 times the size of Earth, the Galileo spacecraft has now found this. A huge water cloud generating thunderstorms. And where there's thunder, even on Jupiter, there's lightning, lots of lightning. And on Jupiter's moon, you can actually see for the first time the eerie and ghostly lights generated by its 1 trillion watts worth of electricity. And then finally from Mars, this over-the-top view of the biggest volcano known in the solar system. It would take 3 Mount Everests stacked one on top of the other to equal it. And that's part of our worlds tonight. On tomorrow's CBS Evening News, why American women trail men in computer skills and salaries. Until then, Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
You rely on us to get the story, get it first, and get it right. We rely on experience. The CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. Experience you can trust. CBS.com.